can't think make a phone, right? I don't want to walk in here. I think just push it up in here, right?
Good night. Excuse me, who is the driver of E7090, please? The police is asking you to remove your car. It's impeding the area. E7090.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Princess Margaret Secondary School, and welcome to the second of 4 consultations, National Consultations on Traffic. Allow me the opportunity to recognize the Minister of Transport and Works, Senior Coordinating Infrastructure, Kirk Humphrey. I also wish to recognize the Minister of State in the Ministry, Dr. Rommel Springer, Permanent Secretary, Jehu Wiltshire, Jason Boyne, Deputy Chief Technical Officer, Design Services, and also here at the head table sitting next to me is Trika McCarthy Brooms, Chief Licensing Officer of the Barbados Licensing Authority. I also want to take the opportunity to recognize the Member of Parliament for St. Phillip North, Dr. Sonia Brown. To all of you, ladies and gentlemen, the welcome is no less warm. Tonight is about solutions. We, yes, will, of course, entertain your comments, questions, but it primarily is about solutions. And I want you to be mindful that as you address the head table, that we are doing so in a 3-minute span. So within that time, your comments, your solutions, maybe a question, within that time frame. For those of you, we of course welcome our online audience, and let me share with you information related to the email address as well as the WhatsApp number. And of course, you who are in the audience can take note of such. The email address is information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, and the WhatsApp number is 266-3780. You are free to offer your comments, your solutions to either the WhatsApp number or the email address. And the same also applies to our audience members. So we thank you for joining us here tonight. I now invite Minister Humphrey to offer opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good night to everyone. And thank you very much for coming out to this second session. I think it's an important conversation we're having. I want to thank my team who's here with me from the ministry and many who are also in the audience. I want to thank particularly persons who live in this area, the people who live in St. Philip, but also in surrounding areas for coming out. I want to especially recognize my colleague, the MP for St. Philip North, Dr. Sonia Brown. I expect before the night is through to see the MP for St. Phillip South, and the MP for St. Phillip West is currently on business and should be represented by somebody else. But I really want to thank all of you for coming out. As you know, this is our second session. We held one on Monday night, and I thought that was very useful. I think there were questions that, some of them, to be honest, were difficult, but I think that's why we came, to engage in honest reflection. I think it was necessary, and I welcome that level of passion, that level of interest in the work of the ministry. I also feel at this outset that I also should say that this is not a formality. And when my PS presents, you will see that we've already taken on board a lot of the comments that were shared. Hopefully we're in a position tonight as well to take forward a lot of the comments that will be shared as we go forward, as we try to carve out for the ministry a path forward. And essentially that is what this is about. I don't think there's any person who is of right mind that is satisfied now with the current conditions of A, the roads, B, the traffic, C, the time that, because of the roads and the traffic, the time that it takes us to get from one place to the other place. And I just generally feel that most of us who live in this country want to see us do better. It's about productivity, it's about our mental health, it's about our capacity to punch above our weight as a nation. And so I'm happy to have all of you here. I don't intend to be long, but I do hope that we can have a very informed discussion. And I do wish to reiterate that a lot of what you're going to see, to share with us tonight, will find its way into our overall plan, which at the end of the day is why we are here. So thank you very much for coming out. I will now hand over back to the Master of Ceremonies. The plan, I'm told, is to be completed by 9. I heard the MC, but I do hope that we can respect the microphone time so that we can hear from as many people as possible tonight, so that we can make the most of this, what I think is the most important occasion. I haven't told my staff yet, so they're hearing it for the first time, but I think we have to have a 5th consultation, to be truthful, because we need to go to the center of the country as well. We need to go to St. Thomas. I know the people in St. Thomas also have concerns, so perhaps a 5th at Lessavon maybe, so that we can hear from the entire country. And once this is done, and we're able to inform our plan properly, we will come back again to the country. So trust me, these comments are important. They're shaping government policy, and I look forward to having a wholesome conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I also want to recognize Ruth Holder, Director of the Transport Authority, and also joining us since the start here at the head table is Richard Austin, the Deputy Chief Technical Officer, Operations. We will have 2 presentations, one from Jason Bowen and the other from Richard Austin, and then I would allow persons to offer their comments. On your arrival, you were given a slip of paper, and that has some numbers. So I will call the numbers, and you will come forward to make your presentation. All right, so we ready? Okay, sure. All right, PS? The PSJ who will now give a summary of the first consultation.
Good evening, everyone. So we had, as Minister said, we had a very useful meeting on Monday. And my summary is really going to just highlight the major points from that meeting in terms of the suggestions and the recommendations that were put forward to the ministry for the reduction of the traffic congestion, particularly in the high traffic areas. So I have divided them to various categories. Number 1, junction improvements. A number of persons suggested that the timing of the traffic lights at several junctions in the high traffic areas need to be improved, especially to accommodate returning traffic. There was a suggestion that there's a need for the painting of yellow markings at roundabouts to prevent motorists entering the roundabouts and blocking traffic. Suggestion that the hard shoulder should be used as actually another lane for left turning traffic, as well as the installation of traffic lights at roundabouts, as well as the construction of more roundabouts to accommodate right turning traffic. Bearing in mind that there are a number of right turns into side roads, in some cases close to roundabouts. There was also the recognition that the location of schools in high traffic areas causes the spillback of traffic, and it was suggested that there should be the establishment of hubs to facilitate the establishment of shuttle systems to take school children to school, as well as specific laybys or dedicated spaces near schools where available, where parents can drop off their children. There was also a suggestion that there should be a full zonal policy for schools so that children who live close to schools will go to those schools with a view to reducing the traffic congestion in those areas. There was also suggestions that there should be designated lanes for pedestrians as well as bicycles, with a view to encouraging a more, as one person put it, healthy Barbados, as well as the establishment of bus lanes where there is available space. It was also suggested that there should be designated one-ways, especially in high-traffic areas, as well as the expansion of highways in some areas to four-lane highways, such as Waterford Road in St. Michael and Carmichael Road in St. George. Another suggestions, new modes of transport. There was suggestion for water taxis or ferry service from Oistness to Spikestown, and there was even one suggestion that there should be a grade separated light rails system, particularly over the ABC highway. In terms of the reduction of vehicles on the roads, there were suggestions that the government should limit the importation of vehicles, and there was even one suggestion drawn from some countries in the Latin American region that license plates should have even and uneven numbers, so that motorists would only be allowed to go on the roads particular days. In terms of the adjustment in the hours of work, there are recommendations that we should encourage staggered working hours, and we should go back to the work from home policy as was implemented during COVID, and that there should be decentralization of offices throughout the country, which would aid in the effort. Quickly, there were suggestions in terms of the establishment of park and ride sites at some designated locations. There was even one suggestion that you should allow registered, as the person put it, registered motorists to pick up commuters and charge bus fares. There was also suggestions that motorists should be penalized for only having one person in the vehicle at peak times during heavy traffic. The need for a comprehensive road safety education program, the provision of real-time tracking of buses so that commuters may know when buses will arrive, the recognition, as I'm quite sure you all are going to discuss and draw to our attention, that the government really needs to do something about drive-thrus. As you would recognize that if you are going east from Farm Road and you come to Shafet, some person may be seeking to turn into Shafet to buy a snack box, and traffic is back up all on Farm Road. Then there's the instance of dragging, what we call dragging by PSV drivers, as well as the need for better road markings, especially at pedestrian crossings. Those are some of the suggestions that were made. There were quite a few others that were made. I'm quite sure that you all may be thinking along the same line in terms of some of these suggestions, which actually we have considered as part of our traffic management plan. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary, for giving us the summary of what took place on Monday night. And now I will allow for the presentation by Jason Boyne, Deputy Chief Technical Officer, Design Services. And as he prepares himself, allow me to also recognize Head of the Drainage Unit, Mr. Bryce. Jason?
Hello. Hi, good evening, everyone. Once again, we are here to discuss, the existing traffic conditions in the country. And with this presentation, I want to focus more on the southeastern part of the country, heading down, with the main roads heading into the city area, right? All right. This slide here, we're looking at the speeds, average speeds of traffic that we would have had in terms of recorded over time relative to traffic going in and out of Bridgetown. You can see in the morning peak hours, and then we also have the period in between those two peak hours, the relative speeds. You can see during the peak hours, the speeds are exceptionally low. So you can see in some cases 5 kilometers per hour and in other cases 29 kilometers per hour. That is exceptionally low operating speeds, and that is something that exists currently. As a result, we know that there's significant congestion on our roads. Now, let's go and have a look at 6 roads roundabout. Our permanent secretary would have mentioned the significant congestion which occurs between the supermarket and the 6 roads roundabout. We know that there's a heavy set of right turn movements to the gas station, to the restaurant that is there, and then also to the supermarket as well. And because of that, traffic, especially on afternoons, even this evening on my way here, you could see that traffic was backed up all the way back to Marchfield. And in some cases, it goes even further than that. And sometimes it's as simple as one person making an attempt to go to the gas station, the whole entire roundabout is locked up and persons can't move, right? And you can see from a series of photos here, you can see there's a car trying to enter the photo on the left. You can see a car trying to enter the gas station. That was early in the day, but however, something like that can result in significant congestion throughout for the whole system, and that creates, obviously, significant congestion. Now, in terms of motorists from this part of the country, especially if you're heading down to town or even wanted to go to St. James and so forth, there are few roads that persons would normally use. The vast majority would likely use Highway 4, which would be passing Buckley and going on to the Norman Mills roundabout, and then you go from there whichever direction you want to go. There's also Highway 5, where you're coming down from through Map Hill right down to the ABC Highway. You then go from there which direction you want to go. There is the Highway 6, we're passing through Searles roundabout, and then you can then come down to the ABC Highway and then make your move from there. So it's largely mainly 3 to 4 roads that you would normally utilize on your trip down. And looking at these, one can see that at the Norman Mills roundabout, if you can see the deep red areas, and then the JTC Ramsey roundabout to the bottom of the 2 photos, you can see the deep red areas to the east of the roundabout. That is the morning peak time traffic where there's a significant amount of congestion. The red is slow moving traffic at that point in time. The green is the faster moving traffic. So you can see this is like a heat map, essentially, which is showing you the problem real time sometimes. You can get this off of the Google map. All right. This is just a photo of the JTC Ramsey roundabout. Wildy, this is an area where if you're also coming from the south, you would most likely end up coming from, especially use the ABC Highway, you would end up coming to this area, and you can see the significant amount of congestion in the areas that are deep red. Those are areas where there's significant congestion. And just moving on. All right, now, there's another route that is currently being utilized by many in the country. It's what I call an unofficial highway, but it's being used significantly, right? And this is this route here, where persons are moving basically from the Windsor-Brighton area. In fact, they come from the Coleridge area, and then they head down to the Windsor-Brighton area, and then either they go down to Board Hall or they go across Brighton, meet up at Carmichael Junction, head across to the Walkers Junction, then on to Lower Estate, then on to the infamous Kenwood Junction, Lears Junction, where there's significant congestion because those junctions cannot handle they don't have the capacity to handle the amount of traffic that is doing that. A lot of people are using this route because they find the ABC highway is pretty congested and difficult to get through, so they're using an alternate route. We are at this time looking at these series of junctions along that route for improvements to help improve the situation there, to improve the operating speeds on those roads. All right, this is here photos of the Glebe Walkers Junction. And you can see, it's unfortunate, it doesn't show any deep red on these photos, but there's definitely some congestion here on mornings. That's the photos of the junction itself. Here is the junction by Lower State. And you can see that this is also a challenging location where on evenings, especially in mornings, sorry, there's significant congestion on that section. Here is the Lears and Canewood junctions, and these are junctions where significant congestion occurs. The one at the one at Canewood, traffic especially on afternoons, tends to back up almost at times to the small little roundabout, the BRC roundabout. Significant congestion normally occurs there. We are actually reviewing plans at this moment to construct a roundabout in the area so as to help improve the movement at this location, all right? The Windsor-Brighton Junction, I think the ministry would have previously announced before that we are constructing a roundabout there as well. So all of these we are looking at making these improvements along this corridor so as to help improve the situation in terms of traffic flows in the area. All right. Now, we had engaged a consultant, and recently we've had a report which had given us a number, I say solutions, but let's say at this point in time, there are some solutions that we are reviewing as well, and we are going through these solutions with the view of, and also these consultations will also help to inform us on the full plan that we are going to develop on the way forward in terms of where and what we want to do, right? So in terms of solutions, we're looking at public transit system transformation. One of the first things we're looking at is the establishment of a mass transit authority that is to combine the public transport system and the system provided by the private sector along with the transport authority into one body so as to better control and better organize and schedule the bus system for everyone, right? We're looking at, obviously, continue the ongoing fleet modernization that we've currently started with the electric buses, because that is the way forward in terms of helping to reduce our carbon emissions, and that is where we are going. We are looking at route rationalization and optimization. In other words, there will be some routes existing that have an overabundance of transport, while there are some routes, other routes, that there's not enough transport on it. We are going to be reviewing all of that to better ensure that everybody can get a more fair deal when it comes to public transport. And as a matter of fact, one of our guiding principles that, especially when we were with the consultant, is to provide improved choice. At present, a lot of people in our conversations, they don't see public transport as a viable solution. Once we get a car, nobody's looking back at our bus in this country. So at this point, we're now looking at providing options or better options for persons to utilize, apart from utilizing a motor car, right? We're not saying you don't want you to use it, but what we are saying is that we want to provide you with better options so that you can make more informed decisions and in your day-to-day lives. All right, we're looking at integrated mobility payment. This is the cashless system that we've speaking about all the time. We also want to have an app to use that you can at least see where the buses are real time, so you can plan your journey going forward. All right. We are also, as part of the plans that we're looking at, transport hubs and park and ride. We have already started, we've identified a number of sites in terms of where we would like to place park and ride system. And we also want to incorporate what we call a hub system, where persons would, let's say for instance, if there's a site in 6 roads, there will be a transport system which will connect all of St. Phillip to that hub. And then from that hub, then you would then take an express service straight to Bridgetown. And that's the type of plans that we're looking at on that regard. Now, in terms of the road network and traffic management, we're looking at, well, we are about to roll out our new traffic signals. These traffic signals are adaptive. They have AI technology, which allows for the system to actually recalibrate its signal times. It measures the traffic flows and uses that information to recalibrate the signal times and be more responsive to the needs of at that point in time. So it's no longer, you won't have to wait until we put out counters out there or set up people to count the traffic and then do an analysis, and then that takes days. This is doing it real time, so that there's no delays. Better response, a faster response. As part of that, the system will allow us to provide something known as bus priority. Now, this is something that we're looking at as a key feature going forward. Bus priority will allow for when buses, as they reach a certain point relative to the signalized junction, they will get a green time, a longer green time. It will extend the green time until the buses can clear the junction. i.e., so it's to try to make the situation a little easier for those who take the bus, that they can actually get through their journeys faster. So it will pull through all the other traffic that's ahead of the bus, but at least we will also be technically favoring the bus as well to get through the system faster, right? We're looking at smart parking management systems. Bridgetown, at this point in time, is a free-for-all, and it's not a good situation. Persons are all over, they're double parked, persons park for long periods of time, but at this point in time, we're looking at improving the parking in Bridgetown by better regulation, smart parking meters, and we're going to develop those systems soon. There's also the plan to establish a traffic management center. This is something that we will have to engage with the police, because it's done overseas, and it's usually us ministry officials along with the police in one center to if there are any incidents that occur, that we can respond to them quickly. We will have eyes and ears on everything relative to traffic, and we can make decisions faster, right? And then the final set of solutions would be active and shared mobility infrastructure programs. So we're looking at bicycle lanes, bus lanes, improved sidewalks. I must say, I used to live in St. Phillip one time, and I've noticed that there was a heavy movement from the Sterling Children's Home to the junction by Beulah. There's no sidewalks provided there, and that is these things like this we'll be looking towards to improving and ensuring that everyone has a safe. And as I said, remember I said we want to improve choice for everybody, improve the situation for everybody. It's not about cars. The roads they also have pedestrians. They have everyone that we have to look at. The disabled, everyone. So we want to make an environment that is more inclusive for everyone. All right, and those are the main things that we are looking at. Yeah, and that's it really for my presentation.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that you've been taking note of the presentations, and now we're going to move to another presentation, and this will be by Richard Austin, Deputy Chief Technical Officer, Operations.
Thank you. And thank you, Jason. while we're getting the, if we do get the slides back up, just a brief comment on the road work that you're going to be seeing quite soon. You're going to be seeing road work around the Long Bay and Fall Bay area. You'll also be seeing road works conducted in Ruby, Congo Road, and Cottage Vale. And another comment on the bridges. Now, the last bridge survey that was done was conducted in 1985 or 1986 or so. And that study inspected and produced recommendations and maintenance programs for approximately 70 bridges and 650 culverts on the island. Now, those culverts and bridges are located on the main highways. We actually have more bridges and culverts on the island, but that survey covered the majority of the bridges and culverts on the island. And at that time, the study found that the bridges were old. They had not been maintained very well, and even then, they had not really been constructed with the loads that were then present on the road. And now this is 40 years later, so you can imagine the kinds of stresses that our infrastructure is incurring as traffic volumes and weights of vehicles have increased. So the MCW has recognized the urgency to conduct regular inspections, continuously monitor and update the condition surveys for both roads and bridges in order to implement an effective maintenance program. And this will help us to update the load ratings for the bridges, which is very important, so that we can control or contain the weight of the vehicles and trucks, especially as they come into the island, so they don't do excessive damage to our roads, especially our bridges. And to meet this objective of being able to implement updated maintenance strategies and so on, the MCW is going to establish, we're going to increase our internal capacity to conduct these surveys. We're currently doing training. Our engineers are enrolled in a program with dealing with bridge maintenance and inspections. And while this training is taking place, the MCW has also engaged with several engineers to look at least 23 bridges on the island. So if you remember, I mentioned there are 70 bridges in all. There are 23 bridges that are currently enrolled in numerous engineering consultancies, and those consultancies are at various stages of delivery. There are a few bridges that you will see shortly work being conducted on repair. One of them will be Haymans in St. Peter. One of the bridges that pertains to the St. Phillip area, that's Dodds, and that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Allow me to also recognize now the Member of Parliament for St. Philip South, the Honorable Inda Ware. And we've also joined by the Chief Executive Officer of the Transport Board, Fabian Wharton. It is now your turn to offer your comments. Remember, we are respectful of the time, so I would want for you to be very brief and concise, whether you are offering a comment or a brief question. Perhaps in that context, if you do have a question, you can indicate to whom that question is being posed. I'll call the numbers, and as they are called, you will go to the mic and make your voice be heard. Comment number one, or person number one. Mr. Bailey.
Good night to the high table. Good night to everyone. If the minister had indicated earlier, I would have waited for St. Thomas, because I live in the northern side, but I felt compelled to be here tonight, and the PS indicated the point that I really wanted to get over. Minister, if we don't take the decision now to stop all fast food restaurants with drive-thrus, people are going to die in this country from stress. I feel for the persons who live in the southern side from Bay Street to Oistins. There are 7 drive-thrus. KFC, 1, Burger King, Chefette, Chicken Barn, and there's also KFC 1, KFC 2, and Chefette in Oistins. People, and Starbucks, thanks. So I know that that was discussed in the first presentation, so I won't go too long into that. From Jummett's Lane, from Bethel Church, 3 months ago, I took a decision where, and for those who don't know me, I am the president of the Bridgetown Taxi in the Bridgetown Port, and my members were complaining. I took the decision in the evening to go to Jummett's Lane. Out of 112 vehicles going south, 57 of them turned by Queen Elizabeth Hospital. So you have the ample opportunity to widen the road at Jummett's Lane to allow those vehicles to turn left to go across by Queen Elizabeth. The ground is there. I know there's development coming, but it would ease the situation of persons going south into Barbados. Back in 2011, the then Minister of Commerce, who was the person in charge of Massey Supermarket in Old Town, it was total madness. There's 1 entrance and 1 exit into Massey. At this present moment, to get into Old Town, any time from 11 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening, it takes you 55 minutes. And you're doing Sandy Lane course, not the coast road, 57 minutes. How can we build a supermarket in Barbados in 2011 with 1 exit and 1 entrance? It's utter madness. And I'm going to be short. This particular one is for the schools in Barbados. I heard you all spoke about drop-off for schools. My suggestion for the schools, and anybody can realize it, once schools are on holiday in Barbados, traffic flows easily. On Friday is the most busiest day for all people in Barbados. All schools should be hauled at 1 o'clock, giving commuters a chance to travel through Bridgetown easily. And I know you said 3 minutes, but I came with a lot of questions, but I'm going to be decent. And to the Chief Lighting Officer, there's operations out of the port from the embryonic stage with containers. I would like to know who checked these containers coming out the port. We're going to wait till probably one of the containers fall off again, and it's going to kill a large amount of people. I am fearful driving next to a container in Barbados. I would like licensed authority to do an inspection of these container rigs coming out of the Bridgetown port and from other sites, because so far for this year, we had 2 container rigs with containers on them. One was in Black Rock, and I guess everyone can remember 2 years ago, the one that fell off going up the University Hill. It halted traffic in Barbados for about nearly 5 hours, and I know for a fact, no one is doing any checks on these container rigs which is traversing the roads in Barbados. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. Just want to say that in terms of the solution that you mentioned at Jummett's Lane, that's a reasonable solution. But just letting you guys know, we're going to be looking at reviewing all of the traffic junctions in the Bridgetown, well, St. Michael area, to be honest. As I said, we're looking to roll out the adaptive traffic signals, but we're also going to be relooking the capacity of the junctions themselves. And in fact, we may also be reviewing how we utilize these junctions as well, these roads. We have not ruled out any one-way solutions or anything like that. We may be utilizing some and doing some changes in the near future to increase the to help increase the operating speeds on our roads. All right.
Good night. Mr. Bailey, thank you so very much for your question. Okay, thanks. That is a major concern to us, and we're not taking it lightly. One of the things that the licensing authority is planning on doing, I am Trika McCarthy Brooms, the Chief Licensing Officer. One of the things that the licensing authority has on its plans, actually for this financial year, is setting up an office at the Port Authority and engaging the services of officers who will actually inspect the vehicles going to and from the port. We will also be working with the police at the Port Authority to ensure the safety of these containers, these container trucks. It is a gross concern. I get a little passionate about it because safety is paramount. And we cannot jeopardize safety for anything. So just letting you know that we are putting things in place to address this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 2.
Hello, good night. We heard quite a lot of suggestions, and we only hope that we will put in the most effective ones, because I don't think we can do all, and it would be good if the public gets an idea as to the ones we're actually putting into place and so on. Now, as I see it, there's 2 major issues. There's traffic flow, and even though I heard you talking about speeds and so on, I believe that if the traffic flows, even if it flows not at a fast rate, you will still get somewhere, rather than traveling fast and then you have to bottleneck somewhere. So traffic flows is one, and there are a number of suggestions for traffic flows, and we really got to look at that very seriously. There are all kinds of issues that slow down traffic, even down to potholes, because if a person is driving and a pothole is on their side of the road, most people are not going to drive the expensive cars over the pothole if oncoming traffic is coming. So naturally they wait, and that delays traffic. Every time there's a stop in traffic, you all well know, it creates a wave that continues to delay traffic. And so very often you come to a stop and you wonder what's happened. There's an accident and so on. And when you get down the road, you realize there's nothing there. So we got to focus really on traffic flow and eliminating everything that reduces. And we had a number of suggestions from the speaker before me, and you came up with quite a lot there. So that is one, traffic flow. The other thing is, the amount of traffic on our roads at peak time. And I just want to reiterate, because you all provided a lot of solutions. I don't think many of us have any additional solutions but to reinforce some of the things. So basically speaking, the one that I am really think that really would make a very significant impact, and it was mentioned, is the hub. I think that most of you would agree that one of the biggest problems that we have is school drop-offs, in the various corridors and so on. And I'm saying that we need to address that, and one of the ways I find to most effectively address that is to really establish dedicated hubs for school children, And these things must be properly prepared, they must be properly, organized for safety and so on. But we need to establish, we can do a trial basis, but we need to establish, park and ride hubs for school children. One could go in the Wildy area, Warren, South Coast, near Oystens, and somewhere in St. George, It will require land, it will require organization, and so on, but I think that will, as the speaker before me said, that is one of the big problems. When the school children are off, the roads are a lot lighter. So we need to look seriously at something like that. So that was my main thing, school hubs. You secure them properly, they can even generate employment, Minister, for people and so on. And I strongly believe in that. I believe that if you are able to establish that a bus going into these heavily dense areas takes about at least 20, 30 cars off the road. You know, one bus can take about 20, 30 cars off the road, so you can multiply that and see. So the bottom line is this. We need to focus on improving traffic flow. There's too many people parking on the road, potholes, minibuses playing the fool. But we need discipline, and this country seems to lack in that area, and enforcement, because these things will need serious discipline, commitment, and enforcement. So as I say, improving traffic flow, and you have quite a lot of suggestions, and we need to reduce the number of vehicles at peak time by park and ride hubs for school children. These solutions can be delivered faster, more affordable, but they require, as I say, consistent commitment and enforcement. Flyers is a whole different kettle of fish, and worst of all, tunnels is even worse. But I hope we don't ever go down those lines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the head table?
Yeah, just want to say the solution, just focusing on the solution that you would have mentioned relative to having a hub where parents can drop off their children and then a shuttle then takes the children to the school. We have been looking at that as a plan. We are looking to roll that out for the St. Lawrence Composite School, where we were going to use Oystins as a hub, and then we could then look to see if we can transport the children back and forth to the St. Lawrence Composite. Currently, what happens there is that a lot of parents drop off their children on the highway itself, and that activity tends to slow down the traffic in the area, and it builds right through the Top Rock roundabout, and sometimes reaches as far back as Maxwell and Oystins in terms of with the delay as well. So that is something we are looking at, and we are looking to actively employ.
Good night, everybody. With regard to what was mentioned about potholes and the slow travel times, over the next few weeks to months, you're going to be seeing increased activity on our roads with regard to patching, improved patching. Many of you may have seen that the government has invested in some new machines. They're going to be deployed over the next few weeks or so, and you're going to see an increased impact on our roads and improvement on the quality of our roads. We're going to combine our patching efforts with paving efforts as much as we can to improve clusters of areas so that we can improve the travel speeds. It's really important, not just for peace of mind, but also for the state of the asphalt and for the economy, of course, that we improve our travel times. Asphalt roads don't like slow moving traffic. It's a bit counterintuitive, but the slower the traffic, we actually increase the damage on our roads. So if we can increase the speeds, we help ourselves in the whole maintenance effort when it comes to maintaining our road surfaces.
Thank you.
Can I retort? Can I just say a comment, please? Because I'm thinking, okay, you're saying that these roads don't like slow traffic, but the bottom line is that traffic congestion is a big problem, and unless you take vehicles off the road, I don't see how you can avoid that.
Well, it's multi-pronged approach. So with regard to at least the bit that I was referring to, and as you admitted earlier, if we improve the quality of the road surface, no one has to drive around the pothole, we can drive straight. At least that will contribute to the overall increase of movement on the roads and relieve at least a bit of the congestion. My colleagues will comment on the other things and have commented on the other things that can be addressed, and I believe over time you will see those things happening as well. Oh yes, the JCB patching pros that we purchased have the ability to put down at least 6 times more, at least to prepare rather, 6 times more area than we were previously able to. So you will see an impact as the operators become more familiar with the equipment, as they work themselves and get more seat time. You will see our productivity improve in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. I omitted to tell you that prior to you should introduce yourself as you make your comment. All right, number 3.
Hi, good night to everyone. My name is Ray Moore. I am the president of the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers. I want to thank the panelists for their presentations and to say that the BAP stands ready to work with the ministry on these issues of traffic management and easing traffic congestion. Now, we know, and we've been talking about the number of registered vehicles and so forth that are on the road, and perhaps there may not be a way of reducing that very quickly. I think in a previous presentation, you had said that there was 181,000 registered vehicles, and perhaps that number is going to increase. Now, the topic of flyovers, that is the hot topic of public discourse at the moment, and it is noted that, you know, flyovers will not be the only solution in your integrated traffic management plan. Having lived and worked in Trinidad, and I would have actually studied with Mr. Boyne at university, Trinidad does have these flyovers, and they still have these traffic congestion issues. So, of course, flyovers have to be a part of the solution. So, my question tonight is, has the ministry considered the use of traffic modeling software? There's some advanced modeling software that they use in other parts of the world to model when you're introducing the different solutions to traffic management congestion. Is the ministry using or utilizing the software as is it going to do its integrated traffic management plan? Thank you.
Well, yes, Remo, we do use truck modeling software to check all plans, check the existing performance of junctions and road networks and stuff like that. We are also looking, we also have even more advanced systems. We have simulation software. I don't want to mention the name of the companies, but we have from Germany, we have from the United States. We have a varied set of packages in terms of software from different areas, so you can compare to see what gives the best solution. And when we do our modeling, we just don't look at the existing year. We try to look 20 years into the future to see what would the conditions be like, and would that solution be able to last you 20 years. So most times any solution that we are going forward with, we are looking 20 years into the future, minimum.
Mr. Moore, I just want to reemphasize the point that you raised, that one would tend to think, based on some comments that have been made, particularly at the meeting on Monday, that the flyovers are the panacea for all the traffic ills in this country. That is not the case at all. It is one of the many measures that the ministry will be implementing to reduce the traffic congestion in the short to the medium term. So I just want to emphasize that point. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Number 4.
Hi, good night, everyone. My name is David, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak at this presentation. Now, I have a couple of key points. I'm going to speak mainly on highway management. So one of the easiest way to reduce congestion is to redesign the current road layout.
Could you speak?
Yeah. You heard me before?
Okay. Well, we were hearing you, but it was not that clear. And also
Okay.
be mindful of your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So the easiest way to reduce traffic congestion is to redesign the current road layouts, especially along highways. One key change will be relocating roundabouts, or basically U-turns, at least 800 meters away from major highway intersection on both sides while approaching the highway. Drivers should be able to merge by making left turns onto dedicated merging lanes without having to stop at a roundabout that connects 4 roads directly at the junctions. Like, for example, if you're exiting near the tire shop from the turning, you should only be able to make a left turn onto the highway using a merging lane without stopping. The roundabout will not be positioned directly at the four-road intersection. Instead, drivers will continue approximately 800 meters down, then use a designated U-turn, again, without stopping traffic flow. If you need to take the exit towards Commermere, you will then merge into the far left lane and turn without stopping again. If you intend to continue straight, you will remain in the middle lane. So this lane-based system would allow continuous movement and reduce unnecessary stopping. Overall, this design would keep traffic flowing constantly and significantly reduce congestion. In regards to traffic lights, in the US, when you get to a red light, you're allowed to turn on red. I think what we should introduce is to allow turns on left when you get to a red light. In regards to the stretch at Newton, I think that we should not use roundabouts for every traffic concern as a fix. We have to think futuristically. We have to think 5 years ahead. There's currently another roundabout being placed at Coverley. And once before, there was a beautiful stretch from Newton to the airport. You don't have that beautiful stretch anymore. So you've put two roundabouts in place to cause congestion. Yes, it's convenient, but you sacrifice efficiency for convenience. So I wouldn't suggest putting roundabouts for every traffic concern. And
You can wrap up now, please.
yes. So also to the public, while the government tries to improve traffic flow, please note that there will be an uncomfortable period while construction is being done to rectify the situation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. I welcome your comments. I must say your first, the solution which you outlined is something known as a median U-turn. It is something that persons are using to essentially eliminate right turn movements. And you would use the median U-turn, which is just like a semicircular type. It's a U-turn movement that you end up making to avoid a right turn. Right turns tend to make things a little more difficult, more complicated, and reducing them tend to improve efficiency of junctions. Now, to be honest, we already have an example of a median U-turn in existence. That is the one in the Warrens area, what persons refer to as the lollipop. Technically speaking, that is a median U-turn, and that is an example that we've tried already. It's something that we can review and look at in other locations.
I just want to be fair to you two, because I know you wanted to present. You wanted to present this so that persons could get a visual of what you were actually saying. And I have committed to meeting with you next week so that you could show me the presentation. Right.
Thank you very much. May I remind you of the email address should you have your comments, or you want to even offer a presentation. That will be information.unit@publicworkers.gov.bb. And the WhatsApp number is 266-3780. Number 5.
Good night, everyone. My name is Lloyd Springer. I'll start with questions, simple question. What about the possibility of having transportation as a social service? Just like how we have health, education, this might be long-term, but I think we can consider it. Comment? No, I think it would be a good thing if we can have more inter-ministerial collaboration, not only with the Ministry of Transport and education, and because some of the problems on the road are caused by lack of civic education. And we might need to do some work in the schools, teaching children how to behave on the buses, how to treat the elderly and so on. And secondly, in terms of attitudes and behavior, if persons in authority can treat the elderly with more respect, and if the commuters can exercise, commuters on the public transportation, better behavior on the buses. Because there are sometimes when children can make things easier for the transportation on the whole, where the bus drivers don't have to go into the police station and so on. If children can be better behaved, if children can stand up and give the elderly a seat, if persons can give pregnant persons their seat, etc. So it's not only the technical aspect, but I think we need to consider the social aspect as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, don't say it yet, Mrs. Springer. Mrs. Springer is one of the most respected and respectable social workers in the country, having been a senior manager at the National Assistance Board for a long time, and a social worker of great distinction. But I need you to help me understand exactly what you meant when you say make it a social service,
Social service.
like health.
Okay, way back in 1961, 62, we had education, secondary education being free for almost everyone. So if we can have the public transportation where almost everyone can, showing a Barbados passport, ID, can travel freely on the bus. I know you asked me where the money will come from and so on, but if you have the commitment, then I know the Minister of Finance that said we'll find the money and so on. But but make it free for Barbadians to travel here, there, about their business and so on, and find the resources and so on from wherever it's necessary. That's what I meant by make it a social service. So where we can go to the QH and polyclinics and get medication and get treatment and so on, where we won't have to be looking for $3.50, etc. It might raise very soon to $5, that I don't know. But where the non-nationals would have to pay, but not nationals. Thank you.
Okay. I get you better. You mean a free social service, because many would say transportation is a social service.
Yeah, free for Barbadians.
And the point is taken.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 6.
Good night, everyone. My name is Ishmael Ali. I have 2 ideas. One is, when it comes to the pedestrian crossing, constantly people have to be painting them over, right? One idea is that you can make them into slabs and pave them in the road one time. Now, with doing that, you're adding a whitish substance to it. It will get dirty at times when the dry season. When the rain comes, it gets back white. You don't have to be painting it all the time. The other thing, the other idea, you have the 2 curbs at the side of the road when you're building a new road. Why can't you put one in the middle too? But the one in the middle would be just the same level as the road, because the 2 at the side are already built up. So with the one in the middle, you can put the, whatever road would have a white line, you can mix some of that same mixture or whatever, so that it will always stay white. And the yellow line, you can do the same mixture, and it will always stay yellow. Instead of having to constantly paint and the center concrete in the road will also give the road more strength, longer lasting, because it has no 3 concrete pieces, one middle, the other end. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any comments?
Well, relative to the road markings, we are actually looking to invest into a technology called thermoplastic. It's a material. It's a material that actually you actually have to heat it onto the surface, and that material lasts far longer than the regular road marking paint. It can last. We're talking about years as opposed to the few months that the paint normally will last. And that with that material, you can embed on the surface these small glass beads to improve the reflectivity, especially, and that will help persons, especially at night, that you can see, and also improve the grip on the actual paint itself. We've had the problem relative to the regular paint markings where they are slippery at times when it is wet. Thermoplastic, once the beads are in place, does not have such an issue. All right.
Thank you. Just want to repeat that email address: information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, and the WhatsApp number 266-3780. Number 7.
Hi, good night to you, Minister, and the panel. I don't want to be redundant or seem to be redundant, but I will. There are some areas that were mentioned already that I really had in my proposals. Hard shoulder usage. That's a pain. That is a pain. I say it's a pain because it hurts to know that I am a law-abiding citizen. I sit down in the traffic and I watch the cars passing me on the hard shoulder. Many occur. And I may spend an hour waiting while the other cars are doing illegal acts and continuing. But you want to know something? I am supportive of them because I've traveled overseas and I know what it's like. Change the hard shoulders, move them, make them a 4th lane, or a 3rd lane, as the case may be. In relation to the egresses to the roundabouts, again, I'm being redundant. I'm supportive of the yellow boxes at these roundabouts because we find the agents in particular don't like to give way. And as a result, you find that they are going to enter the roundabout, block the exit, although they cannot get beyond. That causes a delay. Moving on quickly, we are talking about 6 rows. Someone mentioned it. We're talking about oisins. Someone mentioned it. It's an easy fix. It's an easy fix. 6 rows, close off the the entrance points, and turn them into exit points, both for the chauffeur and the gas station. And traffic can be diverted to come in from the opposite direction, which is the Nichols Bakery side, and both lanes can be used left and right, and they'll be avoiding any congestion on the main arteries. We go further. Oisins. Close off the drive-through at Shafek, close off the drive-through at KFC. The car park at the back of KFC, which is the Oisin Civic Center car park, burst the center through the wall, through the fencing, and make a roadway. It's government property. That's an easy fix. Shafet, you may have to acquire some land there by Ashby Land and let traffic come through at the back of the Cash for Gold building and let them enter Shafet from that direction. Allow easy congestion on the Oistins Road, which we know over the years was only a weekend problem. Now it's an every evening problem. Last but not least, Wildy R, Highway R on Wildy Road. When we're traveling coming down from Upton to that junction at Wildy R, Wildy Road, every one of those persons, including me, have to come to that junction, fight to cross over 4 lanes of traffic, hoping that we don't get hit. And then we still have to go and contend with the heavy volume of traffic on Clapham Road. And all we need to do is put a little roundabout. It's going to cost a few dollars, yes, maybe, and allow us to turn right and go up what we call the BT Hill towards the Samuel Jackman Prescott. And that would avoid some of the congestion on the Clapham Road, because I don't want to go Clapham Road. That's not where I want to go. That's not my intended direction. I want to go towards the CBC side. But I have to go and contend with the traffic on that road, the Clapham Road, and go all the way around to the Y and come all the way back up for another 45 minutes. So those are my suggestions to you and your panel.
Just want to know something quickly. The roundabout is to go where exactly? By the one by BT or by the Sol gas station?
At the bottom, at the direct bottom of the BT Hill, right by the University of the American University.
Right.
Right by the way you
Right
turn
there.
left. I don't want to turn left, I want to turn right.
I got you. I just want to be good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Okay, so let's hear now. Apparently there was a slip in with the numbers. So we are now at number 7. Do you have number 7?
I do, yeah, but there are 2
good.
number 7s.
Well, there are 2 now. Wow. So you're 7A. So you're 7B now.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Good night to the team on the table, and thanks for the presentation earlier. I thought it was quite well done, and there are a lot of, obviously you have to prioritize what you're doing because there are a lot of different ideas there that are almost impossible to implement.
Give your name.
Just say your name,
Oh, I did,
please.
sorry, Andrew Hutchinson. I have a few questions and a few comments. I will make a written submission because all my comments can't get in 3 minutes. I want to encourage the ministry to put greater focus on enforcing traffic management. All along Highway 1 and Highway 7, the PSV drivers are causing, don't pull over to passengers. They're blocking up traffic while they're trolling. All that can be regulated by policing, and that needs to be done to increase the traffic flow. Now, Mr. Boyne said, and I agree with him, there are about 180,000 vehicles in the island, but an early report also said there were 50,000 who are not licensed, and probably 50,000 who don't have driver's license. We need to get them off the road. Come on, that's policing. That's what traffic management's for. While we're on that subject, I noticed the ministry spent millions of dollars, I'm told, erecting portals over the highway to track vehicles who are presumably non-compliant. But I have never heard, is it working? What's the results? I don't support the idea because I'm told that it was there to find those who are unlicensed drivers. Well, I can submit to you it's common sense. You have a beautiful record of all the licensed drivers, but you don't have no records of the unlicensed drivers. So if you pick them up in the camera, how the hell you can find them? It's common sense. I'm sorry. You don't need to put up millions of dollars of portals to find that because you're not going to find it. You don't have a record of the people with the illegal licenses, etc. So when the camera picks them up, you can't trace them. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm missing something, but that's my question. Yeah. Now, in terms of the transportation network, it's been discussed in some quarters, and I think somebody did a study on it. We need to have hub and spoke systems. Why couldn't we have a hub in Oistins, a hub in Bridgetown, a hub in Holetown, or one in Speightstown? And let that be, the routes between the hubs be traversed by the buses that carry the large numbers of people. And then give contracts to the spokes, to the PSV drive vans. So there'll be PSV licenses to feed into Oistins, to feed into, right? So you know they can get your PSV there, and then get in the, once you get in the hub, you get the bus that's going straight through to take you going to Bridgetown, Speightstown, or Poletown. I think consideration should be given to that. It will, of course, mean you've got to rework all the contracts you've issued, licenses you've issued for gazillions among the PSV drivers that are going up highway. Highway 7. I'm not sure how you get that done, but so that's the hub and spoke system. Now, I want to touch briefly on the flyovers. We should not forget the primary reason for the flyovers. The ABC was seen as a primary route, primary highway. And the study that was done at the time that I saw made it quite clear. I think now 60% of the people on the highway want to go straight through. But every time they hit a roundabout, there's an obstruction from people coming in from the side roads. So the free flow going north is interrupted by people entering from the side roads in the roundabout, because you have the right of way. People on the right got the right of way, so they got to stop, right? So the flyovers was conceived simply to give free access to those going straight through, so they're not impeded by the people coming in from the side roads. That's all. And I think the flyovers will work. We're 20 years too late, but what I would not support, I support the idea of flyovers, but I would not support the idea of implementing the flyovers without doing a due diligence study. This 20 years later, so what we had came up, what was produced 20 years ago may not necessarily be suitable now. So there must be some kind of technical study done before we go and implement the flyovers. Okay, that's my point. But I support the flyovers. It's not the whole solution, as the PS said, but it's an important solution to freeing up use of the highway, people going north. We have to do something to, I mean, the 180,000 cars in the island is increasing at about 3,500 a year. Now, we have already reached gridlock. So at 3,500 cars a year, vehicles a year coming in, we are soon going to be in absolute gridlock. So we have to do something about controlling the number of vehicles coming in the island. Our current density, there's a density, is approximately 430 vehicles per 1,000 people. Now Bahamas is 650, Antigua is 598, Trinidad is 582, and we are fourth at 430. This is, you know, so the density is getting up there, and the key to reducing the use of cars, I think, is improving the public transport system. I know we've all developed the culture of driving cars, but I want to believe that with a more efficient public transport system, you know, more people will use it rather than the car. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just want to say, relative to the enforcement, the two officers that are sitting nice right in front of me, we are in constant constant conversations relative to areas that we are looking to tackle. And currently we had discussions relative to, let's say, for example, the Roebuck Street area, and we are currently remarking that area with the view to improving that area relative to policing. So there are other areas that we are going to move on with further discussions and to help improve traffic management throughout. In terms of the hub and spoke system, that is a good idea, and that is something that we are definitely taking on board, and we are actively trying to develop on that now.
Thank you very much. We'll hear now from Ruth Holder, the Director of the Transport Authority.
So good evening to everyone. Okay, as mentioned, I'm Ruth Holder, Director of Transport Authority, and Mr. Hutchison spoke about the problem with the PSVs in terms of dragging, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and all. You didn't mention all the other behavioral patterns that we all are aware of, but it's not something that Transport Authority takes lightly. Last year, for example, we met with all of the owners of PSV vehicles. We met them in different groups. Prior to that, we met with the Police Association and with the senior members of the police to discuss what the issues were. We also met with the Public Service Vehicle Associations at the same time to discuss what the issues were. Coming from that meeting, we met with them individually based on the routes in which they were working on. So we did Spikestown Group, we did Whole Town, we did Jackson, we did Silver Hill, we did Silver Sands, we did Ferry Valley. So we met with each of the owners in different routes to identify what the issues were that were specific to those particular areas. Coming from that, we still saw some behaviors that are not still acceptable to us. What we have been doing since December is that once we get video footage or WhatsApp messages or pictorial footage, and we depend on the public quite a bit to assist us because we have a staff complement of 37 persons. We have 939 PSVs on the road. All are not active in any one particular day, but you can understand the issues that we would have out there. Coming from those videos that we were seeing from the public, we started suspending driver's licenses. We started suspending permits. So we started doing that since December. The last time we did the exercise was last week. We rely on the public. Send us the information. You don't have to say who you are, but send us the information. Once we have that information, we can take the appropriate action. In relation to the behaviors that we are seeing, the behaviors, how do we control that? How do we enforce that? As I mentioned, we are a small unit. Bringing us to the mass transit will more than assist us in terms of where we are, in terms of how we can actually implement those enforcement levels. What we're looking at in terms of the mass transit is to get more compliance officers. So we can only work with the police so much because the police manpower is also limited. If we increase what we have on the road, so in other words, we know those problem areas, we know the Warrens areas, we know the back of Kentucky, we know at the corner by the hospital, so we know the problem areas, we know the Dragon on Highway 1, we know, in other words, the problem areas are not unknown to us, and it's not that we're sitting back and not doing anything, but mass transit would allow us to get the staffing capacity that we can actually put people on the road that would assist us in terms of controlling some of the behaviors that we are seeing. But again, public, we're asking you in whatever format you can find. Almost everybody nowadays is having a dash cam. Dash cam videos are helping us quite a bit. Dash cam videos as well as the police videos, police cameras that are out there. Those are helping us. I think that should cover it from our perspective. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And so we continue now. Sorry? Good? All right. Number 9. Whoa, I'm moving ahead swiftly, man. All right, let's hear number 8.
Good night to the head table. My name is Raymond Lord, and let me say that I'm acquainted with the subject matter as a professional planner. In preparing some other things, I was reading the book related to traffic, and the book is titled, I encourage all my colleagues from the ministry to get this book. It's called Killed by a Traffic Engineer. Killed by a Traffic Engineer. Shattering the Delusion That Science Underlies Our Transportation System by Wes Marshall. I'm looking for the counteraction book for it now, because he's a professor at university. It's pretty dated, but I was reading it because of dealing with some matters that I thought that the comments from the Minister of Public Works were ridiculous and seemingly anti-developmental. The problem is that there's no place in the world that you solve a traffic problem by building a road. Absolutely no example exists. If Brother Jason, and my colleagues can show me one, I'm happy to go and research it. None. The classic example of planning school is the Bosphorus region of Turkey, that it started with 1 bridge, it was blocked. 2 bridges, it was blocked. 3 bridges was blocked. Beijing is up to like 6 or 7 ring roads, and all of them are blocked. The ABC highway started with 2 lanes, 1 way, we added 2 more, they're blocked. The issue which I disintegrate the traffic. You break traffic by reducing congestion by traffic management. And you have to do that by reducing the number of cars on the road. But that has a social cultural problem, because if you're a young man for the car, you can't get a girlfriend. Because the girl ain't coming to pick you up. That's a fact, it's a social cultural thing. You buy cars to move around for social activity. You don't buy cars when you go to work. We know that the schools, you can leave where you live in St. George at 8 o'clock, anytime school is closed, and get into Country Road by 8:15, 8:20, latest. And at Country Road, Jason mentioned this, and this is a problem. I thought he was saying doing some work in Country Road. I thought he was going to tell me that they're going to stop the transport board from crossing 2 lanes of traffic turning right. I thought someone was going to tell me that. I thought someone was telling me that they're going to paint yellow marks at the lights at Country Road, so that when people enter them, if you cannot, like in the UK, if you cannot move straight through the light, you cannot enter. But you stop and you obstruct all the traffic. And that's done in the UK. That's not new science. You travel all around the world at conferences and you see these things. You paint the box. If you enter the box, the same camera takes your picture and you find. But they tell me some of the cameras don't work on black people, that they were calibrated for white people. You can't see people. But I know the cameras are, because it's true, the little things they put on your finger don't work on black people, the oxygen things. Anyhow, here in 6 Rows, I don't want us to be at the event and pick on Mr. Haluk's project or anybody else's project, but I remember working in planning. I think there's a case about that junction out there that's never been prosecuted, but I'm not sure. Someone can check it. Because I always thought that the access should be from the other side. The gas station is a remnant of a time long gone, because the gas station has absolutely no stacking room, but has to exist because it has a historical point of being existing. I would suggest to the government, I'm going to close here, that you actually partner with that person to move that gas station. And because if we get into the habit of quarreling about that, we think that the issue is the drive-thrus, the person going to the drive-thru is not unhappy. Certainly not with Chevette's product. You can't get up 6 Rows in Wing Ding season. I am a planner and I observe behavior. So I observe how the frat. Now, the final point I will make is to do, and I must take partially blame, because the ZR culture is very much linked to places that there are large residential developments. And when we do residential developments, we must work close at hand with the transport board and the other to plan better bus routes. We've realized that they become excellent entrepreneurial activities by the ZRs. But at the same time, there's a cultural problem with those. So we are looking at where we put subdivisions now to link back to larger routes. And I'll stop there and make a written subdivision sometime in the future.
Thank you very much. And so go on, Jason.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Raymond. Thank you very much. And I must say we are actively looking at the... Yes, we will look at the book as well, definitely. But returns at Weymouth is something that we will have to look at. I must say we can look at that. But I must say you really helped with my point of improving choice. That is what we are going to focus on going forward, providing greater choice so as to allow persons to utilize more of mass transit and other forms of transportation, active transport and otherwise, because it is only with these other forms that we will be able to beat this congestion that we currently face, all right?
Thank you. Number 10. Seems as though I have a plan.
Good evening, everyone, to the head table, senior minister, and your team. I first would like to congratulate you. My name is Hayden Rind. I'm the director of the Barbados National Standards Institution. More importantly, tonight, I'm a driver on the roads. Coming out of St. Phillip, I often meet the minister of St. Phillip South. I take an hour and 15 minutes to drop the kids and get to Harbor Road, coming out of Well House. And I see him every morning almost, there by People's Cathedral Junction, looking equally as frustrated. So it's no secret to us. But consultations like this, Senior Minister, I would like to commend you and your team. This is how we get solutions. I've heard the suggestions coming out of Monday's consultations, very good suggestions, many of them. And also tonight, many of the suggestions are very, very good. What I would like to comment on and perhaps introduce you to. There is an ISO, this is the International Standards Organization. It comprises of 173 odd countries. And they've sat together, many of the countries exhibiting similar challenges with traffic, and they've developed an international standard for traffic. So I would like to introduce it, if it has not reached your table as yet with your consultant and your deliberations. I'll just give you the title. It's called Road Traffic Safety Management System. It's an ISO standard. So through the BNSI, we would like to encourage this standard on the table. Why? Because it brings many of these recommendations to practical solutions. You know, you may be going through which ones do we implement, you know, how do we prioritize, what do we do first, second, and third. And this particular standard would help in those kind of decisions. It's primarily based to reduce road traffic deaths and injuries. It also addresses improving the traffic management systems, like the speaker who went before me suggested. And thirdly, it really supports the evidence-based transport policy decisions. Many of the decisions and the recommendations coming out of tonight, you do need, you know, policy decisions as well. We're talking about closing, you know, drive-throughs for very popular establishments and those kind of, you know, high-level decisions. Huh? So here we have a guidance document. Now, it's not going to be a win for all, but surely it shows with similar countries experiencing similar challenges with traffic, what's the international best practice as how and when and what order do you address some of the suggestions. So that's my comment for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I am not familiar with it, Hayden, but I would definitely love to hear more. But as you were at the mic, when you were representing your organization during the estimates, you also shared with us the possibility of the work that you were doing to improve the integrity of the roads. And if you could just spend a few minutes talking about
absolutely. Absolutely, Senior Minister. Thanks for leading it in. Yes, we've heard even tonight about the efforts. I think Richard spoke to it very briefly, about the asphalt and the quality of the asphalt. Now, when the first speaker was giving his presentation, he said, you know, some of the scenarios is that we're using 40-year technology, and that's a reality, I believe, with the asphalt as well. Don't quote me on 40 years, but it's quite old technology. I'm seeing the head table nodding. So what that means is that we've introduced a greater number of vehicles. We've introduced heavier vehicles over the years. I smiled when I heard Richard give the good point about the slower a vehicle drives, it's actually worse for the asphalt, you know? Very true. Why? Because you're extending the time that the weight is on a particular spot. You know, so now we've advanced in terms of our transport system. We've introduced many, many more types of factors. But yet, the asphalt that we're using is a very old design mix. So putting it short, it is simply not the best design mix that we've been traditionally using for 2026 for the type of influences on our roads in 2026. So the MTW is aware of this, and they're very forward as well in seeking to improve the quality of the asphalt. We've had consultations with them, with others, even in the private sector, where we're going to table a recommendation to have a design mix which is best suited for us, not just for the weight of vehicles, but our climate on our roads has changed. Weather patterns have changed. Some roads get extreme water when it floods. You know, all of these factors lead to the need for a better quality asphalt. So very, very soon, within weeks and months, we will be tabling our recommendations for this improvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hayden, before you go, I'm glad to see you tonight. And on Monday, a question as it relates to the type of asphalt, but also the type of aggregate that we have here on island. I think the point was made that, yes, we prefer the smoother roads, but in actual fact, some of the harder granite, basalt type aggregate perhaps is better suited for our current road conditions. I would have spoken to you in the past as it relates to the revised design for asphalt. In terms of our naturally produced aggregate, our indigenous aggregate, I should say, your design would incorporate that, or you think that perhaps we may have to look at imported aggregate?
Yeah, so we have a predominant aggregate here, which the experts are aware of the fines, the coarseness, and if we are going to utilize the aggregate that we have, recent innovation suggests that you can add certain material as well. One of the suggestions is to have what they call crumb rubber, in that Barbados has a problem at the moment with tires, and all of the old tires coming off of our cars end up in a landfill, okay, or at Bees or in Vaucluse. Here, the discussions, again, including the MTW and others, are to how can we utilize what is already existing in international territories as a success, where the crumb rubber is actually heated to a specific temperature, added to the bitumen, where you have a final asphalt binded with the crumb rubber, where you have a superior product. You have a surface that it passes all of the quality checks, plus. So here we are presenting with possibilities of solving more than one problem. You're increasing the quality of the asphalt, yes, but there's a possibility that we can reduce then an environmental and a health problem if we utilize the tires, the used tires in that industry. So Minister, there are many innovative ways in which we don't have to abandon our our aggregate. It's what we have. We have to utilize what we have and use the science then to come up with a design mix that works. So the experts, we are engaging in those preliminary consultations. It's going quite well, I must add. We've had experts from outside weigh in, and we're hopeful that, I think a target, Richard, the end of May perhaps, we would have suggestions which we can table to see if we can utilize an increased asphalt quality in Barbados. And that's fantastic progress so far.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so we move now to number 10.
Hello, good evening to everyone. My name is Renee Coppin, and I am very pleased to see in the presentation so far, because I don't listen to the call-in program, so I'm not aware of all of the solutions that have been put forward. But I'm very pleased to hear so far that the conversation has also been around managing demand and flow and alternatives, because as my learned colleague here, I'm not as learned as he, said, all the research I have done says that you do not improve traffic management by adding roads. And for me, the issue of the flyovers is of particular concern for a number of reasons. One is because, as a Barbadian who operates in a space where we invite people to enjoy a tropical destination that is supposed to be stress-free, Barbados has become quite a stressful place to live, and to, I think, to some extent visit. And I'll give you a simple example. My business is in Hastings. To go to the bank, which is less than 600 meters, you have to practically drive there because there are no sidewalks that are safe. A lot of our visitors to the island are elderly, and so it's important for them to be able to move around safely. So I would like to see that when we're looking at traffic management, because if you want to reduce the use of the roads, you have to give people alternatives that make sense. I would like to see that we're dealing with the low-hanging fruit first. So ensuring that the things infrastructurally that we can do to encourage other ways of moving are done. And Barbados also has to consider that on the WHO index for obesity, we are at number 20. Number 20, and we're rated as a high-income country. The country that I hold as a model in terms of traffic management, the number one country in terms of traffic management is Singapore, and they use a number of things, but they're a rich country. We are not. So when we talk about putting things about like flyovers in place, I worry about things and I have questions about things like how will we maintain them? If we cannot maintain our existing road infrastructure, how are we going to maintain something that we're putting above that infrastructure that now poses a risk to the persons underneath it? What about things like drainage? I had, in my lifetime, something that was unprecedented, where we had, the middle of the country, a flood that was serious enough that someone died. So clearly there are things, I do not know all of the studies that have been done, I do not claim to have done all of that research, but clearly there are things that I think as Barbadians that we should have concerns about when we're jumping to a solution like flyovers before looking at the basic things, our public transportation system, our sidewalks, access to things like bike paths, which would encourage Barbadians to move, and basically all of the alternatives that we should and could explore to improve the lifestyle of Barbadians, to improve our health, to improve our mobility, and to ensure that, because I operate in the tourism space, that as a tourism destination, we maintain our sense of place. Because no one is coming to Barbados to be in Miami. And we have to ensure that everything that we can do to maintain this island as a beautiful respite for persons who are looking to come here should be done. And so I support whatever that is. I'm not against flyovers, but all development is not progress. And so I would like us, please, to ensure that whatever solutions we're putting in place, we are really examining, ensuring that they fit with our country, our culture, and where we as a people want to be and how we as a people want to live. And that is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I must say thanks for your recommendations. I must say and as I've stated before, we are looking at providing greater choice. When I say greater choice, we're looking at improving the bus service. We're looking at providing better active transport means. That is, we're looking at improved sidewalks, improved facilities for cycling, and that we're looking at other modes to improve. That will help to give persons the ability to choose what mode they want to travel by.
Just to add very quickly, Renee, I came from, and I can say Renee because we went to school together. She was younger than me. But I just came from the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs. I have not forgotten who I am, you see. So, yeah, the social component for sure. So in all the discussions we're having so far, we are discussing sidewalks, walkways, the capacity for people to be able to move freely. I would add two things. During the estimates, we announced that we were going to make Bridgetown accessible from the port right through town and a few other side roads. When we were building out Sterling up the road, we determined that, because right now if you come from Sterling down this road, you basically have to walk in the road. And we were going to build, and I still think we are going to build, and I think we should do it all the way past Sterling, to be truthful, for persons to be able to walk to Sixth Road safely and walk back, for persons with disabilities to be able to come to Sixth Roads and go back. So that as part of the build-out, we're not going to ignore the necessary social component. And surely while I'm in this seat, that is not going to happen. So we're going to make sure that the roads we build have access for persons with disabilities. Barbados is an aging population. Most of us in this room, not all y'all, but most of us in this room are past 45, surely, because the average age is about 46 in Barbados. So we are all going to be facing this in the near future. So I take the point, Renee, they're very, very good points. I also understand the other points in relation to the things that we need to do so Barbadians feel safe. It was never meant for the overpasses or the flyovers to hijack the conversation. That was just one of the many things that we're going to be doing to allow traffic to be a little bit smoother. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move now to number 11.
Hi, good night, everyone. My name is Shahadia. To be honest, I had a whole speech with like a lot of people did everything that I wanted to say, especially like the previous one. I am also really against the flyovers for the similar reasons as her and what this person here would have suggested. I really don't think adding more roads and widening the highway is going to really help with traffic. There's actually been situations in other countries where they had to remove roads to force persons, for lack of a better word, to use public transportation. I really like what you guys here are doing and allowing us to have this opportunity to give our feedback about these situations and our suggestions. And I am really pro given choice. I have a vehicle. I'm pretty young, but I have a vehicle because honestly, catching public transportation is scary. I work in Warrens, and taking the van from the van stand to Jackson, I fear for my life. I've had to pray to God on some instances. And I really do think that if we regularize the PSV persons, if we make it more of an option to use the public transportation, it would make life easier. Another suggestion I would like to ask about is, do we only have to use Bridgetown as the main bus terminal? Can we have bus terminals in other places? Like I said before, I work in Warrens. I don't want to have to go to Bridgetown to then have to come back up to Warrens, or just go to Bridgetown any place, just have to come to other areas to take buses or vans just to get there. Another thing I have to ask is, is the waterworks talking to the persons that deal with the roads? Because you pave a road, is a nice road, is really good, and then it's dug back up to lay down pipes. Do you guys not talk to each other? Is there no communication in between ministries for when you are going to do these different things? Another thing we really like to stress on is, which I didn't hear a lot of persons speak about, for the buses, can we really have bus stops? A lot of our bus stops are pools and bush under the sun, and as you just described, we have an aging population. Our elderly, and young people too, but our elderly need to sit. We need to have shelter from the sun. We need to have a space where the buses can pull off onto the road and not block up traffic when it is that they're letting persons off or picking persons up. Another thing as well, I'm blanking here, but yeah. Oh, sorry. And then moving on from that, work from home. We've learned from COVID that we have the means to do these things. Another thing is compressed weeks. If persons are willing to work for longer hours in the day, can they get another day off? Can they get a Friday? Can they get a Wednesday? The issue is that, as people said before, we have too many vehicles on the road, and it'll be more efficient if a bus of 30 can take people to the same direction compared to 30 cars of, only having one person each. Is a volume issue. And I really don't think that adding more roads, adding flyovers, widening them, etc. There are some roads in Barbados that really need to be widened. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think the highway is one of them. And that's all for me.
Thank you very much.
Just quickly before Mr. Wharton speaks, I just want to say that in terms of, I do agree, in terms of the widening and so forth, that is we're only looking at that on a case-by-case basis relative to the numbers. We do our checks and we'll only make those changes to suit. And you had mentioned about improving facilities such as at bus stops and along the roadways. When we talk about improving active transport, that is part of what we are looking for. We are looking at improving the sidewalks. We're providing benches for the elderly, because there's a certain distance that elderly will walk and then they may get tired, so you have to provide facilities to accommodate, as I said, making the transport system as available for everybody, because at this present moment it is not really available for everyone, right?
Well, thank you. I will now allow the Chief Executive Officer of the Transport Board, Fabian Wharton, to offer his comments.
Good night, everyone. Fabian Wharton, CEO, Transport Board. My comments are not just going to be about the board, but it's going to encompass the whole public transport. I may even ask Rufoda to join me at some point. in relations to the bus stops, but I'll try to do a good job of that. If she doesn't think I'm doing a good job, she will come and help me, as she usually does in these scenarios. On a serious note, the Transport Board recognized that there is an issue in connectivity from, you want to go somewhere, you got to go take a bus to Bridgetown, and you got to take that bus from Bridgetown, go to the other destination. So what we would have done over the last couple of years, we would have introduced some cross-country services. So the development of the ABC services, the development of the ABC connection, the changes we made to Oistins, College Savannah, and the one for the God Hill connection, which I will credit the MP for, because she's the one who came and really ran to my head about that one, which is the one that connects from 6 Roads over to the polyclinic to get the people moving in St. John and St. Phillip. And the classic example is that if you live in Crane and you had to get to 6 Roads, you actually had to, if you don't want to walk anywhere, you have to go to town or Oistins and connect Oistins to the College Savannah, or you go to town and come all the way back up from Bridgetown. So what we recognized that there was a gap there, and we used that circle to connect those persons. Also, the elderly people could not get from, say, Phillip and certain areas to get into the polyclinic. Then we also have the Southern Circle, which also connects Christchurch into parts of St. Phillip. And then we also have the City Circle, which is extremely popular, particularly among the elderly, to get them to move around the Bridgetown areas and those urban areas close to Bridgetown. But while I say that, I want the country to understand a couple of things. Certainly when I joined the Transport Board in 2019, what we were confronted with was an aged fleet, bus availability very low, and the persons cannot get home, period. And persons mean across the board on the routes that we service. Now, we then made some harsh decisions to prioritize school. The government also made significant investment. My memory tells me just about near $60 million in buses to improve the transportation sector and improve our ability to provide those services that we need to provide. So we got some units, and we continue to get units in a staggered way, because if you buy all of them at the same time, you have to replace all of them at the same time. So whilst people were angry, and deservedly so, because they can't commute, we were building out systematically how does the board manage to be able to deliver its services today. So now what we have a situation where we now have 121 electric buses. You have now began to start to plug some of those holes. The first thing we did is that for schools like Allen School, etc., we made sure that those children could have gotten out of there, because what we recognized, children were not getting to school on time, and they were finding it very difficult to get home. So we prioritized rural Barbados. And then we also had challenges in St. Andrew with the bridges and those kind of things, which put a lot of strain on our resources. So what I'm saying to you tonight is that you are right. You don't want everybody to have to go to Bridgetown to commute. But at the same time, we also have restrictions on the amount of resources that we have. So therefore, it forces us to prioritize what we do, how we do it, and what's the best way to do it. So I want to thank those persons who had to endure great hardships in the north, especially, and in St. Andrew, for the patience, because now they are getting significantly better services. But at the same time, the board, along with the Transport Authority, and when we complete the Barbados Mass Transit Authority, we would then now be in a position to look at the combination of the private PSV routing plus the Transport Board routing and do what we consider a route rationalization and a route overhaul. So that then some of these little pockets that you're all talking about disappear, because you now have the overarching body, which is the Barbados Mass Transit Authority, totally controlling the public transport space. Right? So that is where we are heading to. Hopefully we are there sooner rather than later, but we are very advanced in our plans, and that is what we are trying to do to get the public transport space better for everybody in this country, because you need to commute, and effective transportation means increased productivity. Yeah? Okay. Oh, and what we have also done is to introduce a lot of ITCs, a lot of information technology into the public transport space. We are going to launch officially Transit BB. I actually launched it on Monday because, to be honest with you, for the time we made that statement, we have seen a lot of downloads and a lot of people have. So it's Transit BB, and it's in the Apple Store, and it's also in Google, the Google Store. So it's Transit BB. So what that app does, it allows you to see where the buses are. If you don't see a bus, a little green icon, it means there's no bus on that road at this point in time. So it allows you to actually click the bus and see where the bus is, what's the expected time to your next bus stop. If you click it now, all the bus stops in this area will start to pop up within a particular geofence space, right? Now, what we are also moving to very quickly is we have it in, particularly for the concessionary ridership, which is the automated fare collection system. That is also in. We're using it for the concessionary ridership for the pensioners and the school children to tap. We are going to very shortly launch that in full for our paying customers. So we are very advanced in our testing, and we are basically there now. And we also internally have the ability to track all the movements of all of our buses, which allows for better decision making. We also now picking up information relative to where people are getting on the buses. So the application allows us to see people movement and determine even where you may need additional bus stops or where a bus stop is not needed anymore. So these are the kind of things that are happening at the board. In relation to the bus stops, if you would have seen that there was some commercial activity. We have these bus shares that were put up and stuff. All of that was part of improving the bus stops across the island. So it is a case where we know they got limitations with the road in terms of being able to pull off into a lay-by. Some roads don't have it, so because it says the vehicles, it backs up the traffic. But those are some of the things that, as time goes on, I guess would improve. But I just wanted to give the country and you guys here an understanding of where we were, how we started to track through, and where we are today, and how we intend to make this better going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the Chief Executive Officer of Transport Board, Fabian Wharton, giving an update, a timely update as to the operations, and of course, tying it in with what we are discussing here tonight. Number 12.
Hello, good night to the minister, the other ministers, and the head table. My name is Vincent Jones. I'm the first vice president of Barbados Association of Professional Engineers. My first question is pertaining to road building standards, and I'm happy that Hayden is here. And I wanted to get a better understanding from the ministry of the standards that we're using for repairing our roads and for building our roads. We've had an extensive mill and pave project over the last several years. And I have noted that if I live here in St. Phillip, so the run that goes down to Newton, the height of the curbs seem to be extremely high versus other areas. We seem now to have a new approach to doing roads where we mill, pave, and then come back and do the manholes. I don't understand that because when I was taught how to do roads, you set the levels completely, you raise all the surfaces, and then you pave, and that's the end of the story. I'm not understanding the new approach. If that is a new standard that's been introduced, I would like to have a better understanding on that. Also, as it pertains to the camber on the roads, the drainage. So I just want to get a better appreciation from ministry as to the standard that we are working to as it pertains to building and for mill and pave. And how do we address these issues? Because even On that same stretch, the road was milled and paved, the manholes were raised, and the levels are still off. So you drive and you drop in to the hole or the indentation. So we're doing engineered potholes. So we need to be careful with that, all right? I would also like to have some understanding as it pertains to how we approach planning of our town centers. We are seeing the emergence of town centers throughout the island. 6 Roads is quickly emerging, several businesses. We're about to put in a municipal complex up the road. Wildy, Warrens into Welch's is expanding, and these other areas. And it seems that we build out the areas and then we try to figure out how to do the road infrastructure. Overseas, normally you would have a slip road that would take you off into built-up areas, which does not, then you are able to have that traffic management, the traffic is able to flow. You go off the slip road, you get into the business parks, or whatever you want to call them. Here in 6 Roads, you come through any Friday evening, you have the gas station, you have Chafet, you have Emerald City. Is a nightmare, okay? So, and what is also interesting is in our planning. If we look at almost every roundabout, there is a gas station strategically positioned near the roundabout because the people in Stupids, they realize a lot of traffic passing here. So you have gas stations, you have supermarkets, you have large hardware stores. So the roundabouts are not able to operate efficiently because just after the roundabout, you have turnoffs that then construed the flow of traffic through the roundabouts. So I think we really need to think, when we are looking at these areas that are expanding, what is it that we're going to do? If we put in a municipal center up the road, is it that we shut the polyclinic, move it up there, give you all some more space there at the roundabout, create a slip lane? As was said earlier, do we need to change either the entrance points to some of these businesses along this stretch, relocate some of them further inland so that you take that, the turnoffs off of the main? These are things we have to look at. They're not going to be cheap, but if we are serious about traffic flow, there are things we have to look at. And we can't just be thinking, I heard somebody said 5 years. A road's lifespan is about 25 years. That's the sort of longevity and where we got to be looking toward when we are planning our infrastructure. Not 5 years, not a political term, no. 25 years. And it doesn't matter if it is a red party, a blue party, pink party, or purple party that's in, it is everybody's working to this plan because it is better for the country. It is planning long term. The last point I want to make, Ms. Holder, happy that you're here, and it is on a traffic safety issue. We struggled immensely with controlling the PSVs. I heard that we are suspending license. Minister suggests that we look for a nice area and build a sizable car park and start to impound vehicles. Suspending license ain't working. It's just not. We've been dealing with this issue from the time Adam was a lad. From the time, the minibuses was the piece on the back of a truck that was traveling on Deacon's Road. That's how long these issues have existed. And we are not getting anywhere, government after government after government. So if we impound the vehicles, perhaps then the owners will feel some of the pinch, and perhaps they will cause their employees to be a bit more responsible. As it pertains to tip-offs, Ruth, any lunchtime between 1 and 3, you mentioned out by the hospital, there's a lovely tree that the vans love to go and park there. And whenever I'm in traffic there, since you know about it, what I'm smelling wafting across the pasture is not perfume. And those persons are then going to transport our children, our commuters, and we cannot be serious, because if you know about it, or law enforcement know about it, but it's happening and nobody's doing anything about it, then it got to be fine. And if it's not fine, then we need to do something about it, because seeing the problem and ignoring it is not dealing with the problem. So we either pick up the vehicles and park them and let the people go home so that the children don't get killed when they get in the van, or we got to do something serious, because that problem in that particular location, I worked on the QEH extension during COVID. has pre-existed 2019. The tree, one of these days is going to fly away and get so high. All right? We need to do something about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Jason, you want to offer a response?
Well, relative to the how in terms of the planning of the town centers, we do work with, well, town planning is the agency responsible for planning, and we do work with them relative to the long-term planning of the city centers and so forth. So that is one, and I do agree with you relative to the need for a pound to impound vehicles. That will be part of our traffic parking management plans going into the future, and just to say, but thanks for the other comments.
Thank you very much. Okay, we move on now to
Hi, good night. Thank you for your comments or questions with regard to standards. There are many elements that go into how our road infrastructure and the elements on it perform, like the manholes and so. What I would say is that we're currently looking to review some of the standards, and standards is a broad statement. In some instances, we're talking about workmanship, not just. So I agree with you in principle with regard to everything that you mentioned: cameras on roads, not engineering, potholes within manholes, and so on. So it's not. So we agree on that point. It is just the implementation, how we implement. And so I think that we can do much on that side, and that's what we're going to be working on in the near future. That's what we're working on now, actually. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. We're moving now to number 14. "13 has left, that's why. You're probably thinking I can't count, right?
Good evening to the minister, head table, and all present. I'm here representing the private sector, business. We have had other contributions from business persons, and I really should say that we're really pleased for the opportunity to be able to sit back and hear how the public is thinking. The private sector has put forward some of the suggestions in the discussions taking place under the Missions Barbados, but as we are realizing that there is a consultation, we are looking and canvassing our members in the event that there are other suggestions coming forward, and we would make a written submission and put forward to the ministry. So I really have to congratulate all those who have participated tonight. The contributions are certainly much more technical than I could even think of. So we would like to know that these are going to be considered, and we would certainly like, as a private sector, probably as a social partnership, to hear the kind of suggestions when you narrowed them down in terms of the plan going forward that we would like to know, because we know that with the various changes and developments to businesses will be impacted. But we all have an interest in seeing productivity, efficiency increase in the country, and we know that the development of the transport system will go a very long way in that improvement. So we really want to thank you for giving the opportunity for this consultation, and also that we can also get an understanding of how the public is thinking. So thank you very much.
Thank you also. I'm sure the minister and ministry officials, they have taken note. We move now to our final question, and that is number 15.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Minister and your panel. My name is Anderson Vaughan, and frequent to Barbados as a Barbadian. I'm here often, and nothing drives me more crazy than being in the traffic here so long. I'm here actually want to make a little proposal to you regarding your junctions. Now, we have a system here that works, but I only see it basically in one area, and that's in Cave Hill. That's with the three-way lights. Now, I just want to draw a few of the junctions to you where we have the issues, and I'm sure there are many of them around the island. You have the one there by Commonmere, the T junction there at Commonmere. You have the one there from Charro Bridge going down to Lears. And the one there at the back of, is it St. Winifred? Coming up Pine Road, right? Coming down to Pine Road. Now, when you get to these junctions, as a driver, you got to look left, look right, look left, look right again before something is coming, and then it hesitates the traffic. So why not put in the three-way lights where we have a flow? You can put 90 seconds for each side, or maybe for two of the sides, you can probably use the 90 seconds and maybe 30 at the one where the least traffic flows, right? I think this would help the traffic or people to flow to get to wherever their destination in a speedier manner. Because this system that we have just ain't working. I think it's something that we should try immediately. I probably can go there with a flag tomorrow morning and direct traffic and make it go faster. But that's one thing. Another thing that is there to me also, I also want to add something to that. The traffic heading into the city. It's about time that we free up our cities, and if you want to drive in the city, it's time to pay a toll, right? There should be allotted space, or find some allotted space where people can park and ride, and get into the city. For years I've been hearing something about that, but nothing ever came to the forefront. I think it is time. Also, the shoulder that you have on the highway, that little shoulder seemingly that nobody ever uses. A few months ago, I heard the PM speaking regarding getting Barbadians fit. Now, we can turn that into a bike lane used by walkers, skaters, and anybody that chooses to find a way that they can utilize a bike lane. This should be a road maybe from, say, St. Phillip all the way to St. Lucie that we can walk on or exercise on freely and safely. Because you're walking through the villages at whatever speed and somebody coming around a corner, whatever the case may be, it's dangerous. Let's implement something, let's put something in place where walkers, riders, skaters, exercisers can use safely. And that's my contribution for now.
Thank you very much. And I note that you said for now, so if you wish, you can submit other contributions via email to information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, or you can send it via WhatsApp 266-3780. And of course, we have other consultations next week. Monday, we will be at the St. Michael's School. On Wednesday, the April 1st, the Alexander School, and in his opening remarks, the Minister alluded to the possibility of there being another one, perhaps at Leicester Vaughan, but of course, we will inform you accordingly. Thank you very much for all of your comments, Minister. We will give the opportunity for our parliamentarians present to offer some remarks, brief remarks, having heard all of what was shared here tonight.
Good night, everyone. Happy to see all of you turn out this evening. I suppose all of you would join me and say thank you to Senior Minister Humphrey and his team for coming to St. Phillip to allow us to share our ideas and to be able to exchange our views on traffic management, especially as it relates to St. Phillip, more importantly, but equally how we leave St. Phillip and have to traverse the rest of Barbados. I'm indeed pleased to hear a lot of the feedback we received tonight. I must say to you, though, that in managing traffic, we can't just do it in isolation. We also have to bring along those persons who are impacting the traffic flow. And I speak about the fast food restaurants. I wouldn't name any of them, but there are several models and there are several management tools that can be used in order to deliver good service. And I think they also have to be part of the conversation to see what service models they can use in order for them to utilize the drive-through facility. A drive-through facility, to my mind, is not a place to stand in a line and have traffic build up. A drive-through facility should be just what it says, drive-through. And therefore, that is not happening, and we need to bring them on board to find out how they can improve the deliverables so that you can relieve the congestion there in the drive-through. But more importantly, I'm pleased to hear from all of you. I'm pleased to see the number of faces from St. Philip as well. Andy, I haven't seen you in a while. You talk about creating lanes for bicycles and fitness, etc. I'm pleased to note that we have the nature trails, and I will invite you to come and go on them and see what we have developed here. And I'll put to the senior minister the opportunity for his ministry to also work with them to help expand that and give us an opportunity to take some of the traffic off the road and allow people to do more walking. I am one that's big on sidewalks. I don't think in a 21st century construct that you should do roads without sidewalks. And I strongly believe that we need to take into consideration people who want to exercise. I will be glad to walk from Wellhouse Corner to 6 Roads. It would be a good exercise for me, but unfortunately I can't do it because I don't have enough sidewalks. And whilst I agree that there are some sidewalks in St. Philip, especially in my constituency, we need to do more, and I don't think that roads today should be constructed without consideration for sidewalks. So I'm very pleased to be here tonight, and I look forward to seeing something coming out of these consultations, especially as it relates to traffic management, moving from St. Philip to the rest of Barbados. I want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anton. Good evening to everybody present. I want to thank the senior minister and the other members at the head table for having this important meeting in our area of the world. I promised Minister Humphrey not to give him any trouble tonight, and I will stick to that promise. In my constituency, St. Philip North, the main issues are, and I was discussing it with Fabian tonight, and I will discuss it with you in the future, are transportation and a couple of the bus routes, some that need adjusting and some that we need. So we can talk about that later. The bus service is one of the major things. Traffic for everybody. St. Philip people are known to rise with the fowls so that we could get to work in the mornings. As I said in Parliament, many of you have heard me, I would not leave. My senior minister had trouble getting me into work, to be honest, on mornings, because leaving home before a certain time, you have a small window, either before 7 o'clock or after 8:30, 9 o'clock to get on the road. So I look forward to these discussions being translated to practicality. I don't know how soon or how far, but I look forward to that. I think meetings like this need to continue. There are many voices out here that were ready and willing to speak, and many of you gave me all of the suggestions you came up with. I have nothing to add, to be honest. Nothing new under the sun. It's just a matter of implementation. I would not be speaking as long as my colleague Indar. So it's at this point that I will shut up and say have a good night.
Thank you. And the final comments and remarks will now be heard from Minister Humphrey.
Thank you all very much for coming out. I believe that this was very, very, very productive. I look forward to more of the ideas being shared. Remember, we have a WhatsApp number and a WhatsApp and an email as well, so you can send in more detail if you have more to send. I don't remember your name, but we will meet so you can show me the presentation that you had as well. I believe that these conversations are very important. Believe me, this is not performative. As you can see, we've already documented all that was said in the first. We're going to document all that was said during the course of this meeting and improve the final document that we are preparing, and then we will come back. We will listen, we will adapt, we will make the necessary changes, and we will come back. I believe that in the very near future as well, I think Renee called them low-hanging fruit. There's some things that we could do now that you should be able to see, like some of the lights. We could adjust the timing on those lights almost immediately. There's some areas where we could paint the roads clearer for persons to see. There's some fairly low-hanging fruit that I agree that we have to be able to do. Richard already spoke to the fact that very soon we're going to roll out an intense pothole program. So you're going to see that happening as well. So those are the early action things that we can take. And I think I will end where you began, well, where you ended too, I think, in terms of execution. This is consultation, but the end game must be execution, so that we are able to better deliver to the people of Barbados, and they can see that these consultations and these conversations have actually made a difference in how we approach the work that we are doing in the Ministry of Transport and Works. Before I close, I want to also remind you that Minister Kay McConney is on business and couldn't be here. And I suspect that she's listening online and watching online. But if she were possible to be here, she would be here. And I want to thank my colleagues who came out to be part of this conversation as well. So God bless you all. Thank you very much. Get home safely. And we will see some of you, hopefully, at the St. Michael's School. But definitely we'll see you when we come back to present our findings on our transport strategy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Remember the information towards the email address, information.unit.publicworks.gov.bb, and the WhatsApp 266-3780. Special thanks to all of you. Travel safely, everyone.